Meghan Markle was trying very hard to make sure she did everything the right way. She wanted to fit in with the most important people in California. She moved her family to a very fancy neighborhood where all the stars live. She went to all the biggest and best parties where everyone was watching. She stood on the big stages with the bright lights shining down on her. She made sure to smile and look happy whenever she was standing next to famous and powerful people. It looked like she and her husband, Prince Harry, were finally doing great. It seemed like they were part of the most special and secret groups in Hollywood. But then, something big happened. Kevin Costner is a very famous actor whom everyone respects. He likes to do things his own way and does not let other people tell him what to do. He made a big choice that changed everything. This choice hurt the plan Meghan was working so hard on. It was a surprise that shocked all the movie stars in Hollywood and also shocked the royal family back in England at the very same time. Every year in September, something very special and quiet happens on the coast of California. There's a very big house right by the ocean in a place called Carpinteria. This house has huge gates that stay closed most of the time, but once a year they swing open. You can hear beautiful music floating out over the blue water of the Pacific Ocean. A big party happens there, but it is very private. Most people in the world never even hear about this party until after it is already finished. The huge house belongs to Kevin Costner. He has owned this beautiful place since the year 1988. Over all those many years, he worked on the house and the land to make it feel special. It is not just a building, it feels like a place with its own heart and soul. The land is very big, covering 10 whole acres on a high cliff. There is a private beach down below where the waves crash on the sand. The views are so big and wide that, when you stand there, you feel like the rest of the busy world has stopped moving for a little while. The big party that happens there every year has a special name. It is called 1805 Live. This event started because of something very sad and painful that happened to the community. In the month of January in 2018, there was a terrible mudslide in a town called Montecito. It happened in the middle of the dark night while people were sleeping. The mud was very heavy and moved very fast. It killed 23 people and buried many homes, cars, and even whole streets under a giant wall of mud and broken pieces of houses. Most of the people living there were fast asleep and did not know the danger was coming. After the mud stopped moving, the first responders came to help. These are the brave people like firefighters and police officers. They had to work in very scary and messy conditions that are hard to even imagine. They worked for a long time to help save people and clean up the town. When the town finally started to feel better and get back on its feet, a group of local people decided they wanted to do something special. They felt that the brave helpers deserved more than just a thank you card. They wanted to give them real help that would last a long time. They wanted to raise a lot of money to buy new equipment and tools for the fire departments and the police. They wanted to make sure the people who protect Santa Barbara County had everything they needed to be safe. That is how the 1805 event began. Kevin Costner told the community they could use his big backyard as a permanent stage for a giant concert every year to raise money. As the years went by, this concert became very special. It wasn't just a normal party, it had a feeling all its own. Very famous singers like the band Maroon 5 and the singer Katy Perry went there to sing. Other famous people like Pink showed up to help. Even Oprah Winfrey, who is one of the most famous people in the world, sat in the grass to watch. Other famous friends like Ellen DeGeneres, Rob Lowe, Cameron Diaz, and Maria Shriver were there too. These famous people were not there just to get a paycheck or to have their picture taken for a magazine. They came because the party had a very good reputation. It was known as a place where people were honest and did what they said they would do. In the world of Hollywood, getting an invite to this party meant a lot. It meant people trusted you. It meant you were part of a special group that cared about helping others more than just being famous on TV. For Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, being invited to this world was very important. They had moved to Montecito after they decided to stop being working royals in England. They were trying to build a brand new life in California, and they wanted to be friends with these respected people. In the year 2023, they went to the party together. Meghan even walked up onto the big stage to give Kevin Costner a special award called the Heart of the Community Award. It felt like a very big moment for her. It seemed like she had finally arrived and was part of the group. After the party was over, Kevin Costner even wrote something nice about them on the internet. He said the night was so wonderful that it would be hard to do anything better than that. It looked like they were all going to be very good friends. But something felt very different and strange when the party happened again in 2024. Prince Harry came back to the 1805 party, but he was all by himself. People said that Meghan was at home because she was not feeling very well. Sometimes people get sick, so a single absence is usually easy to explain. Many people thought that was the only reason she wasn't there. However, some of the other guests at the party noticed something was not quite right. It felt like there was a cold distance in the air. It didn't feel like a simple mistake or a small accident. It felt like a choice had been made behind the scenes. It felt like something had changed in their friendship that no one was talking about out loud yet. In the weeks after the 2024 party, a new story started to spread around. People were talking about it on social media and in quiet conversations in Hollywood. There were rumors and messages on the internet that said something very shocking. These claims said that Kevin Costner had said something very mean. The rumors alleged that he said Meghan Markle would not be allowed to come to any more parties at his house in the future. The story said that Kevin Costner wanted to stay far away from her and not be her friend anymore. Kevin Costner is a man who likes to be independent. He even used a lot of his own money, almost $50 million, to make his own movie project called Horizon. He even used his house as a guarantee for a loan to get the money. He told people that his accountants were worried, but he didn't care because he wanted to tell his own story. Kevin Costner told a big magazine that he does not try to please anyone but himself when he makes his movies. He said he does not want to have to answer to anyone else. He has been a famous actor for 50 years, and he has always done things his way. Because he is known for being so honest and strong, people didn't just ignore the rumors about him and Meghan. They thought the story might be true because it sounded like something a man with his personality might do. Then the story got even worse. A very dangerous rumor was added that linked Meghan's name to something very bad. This was something that no member of a royal family should ever be near. In late 2024 and early 2025, people online started saying that Kevin Costner mentioned Meghan's name at the same time as a man named Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was a man who did many very bad things and got into a lot of trouble with the law. To understand why this was so scary, you have to know what that name means to the royal family. Jeffrey Epstein caused a giant problem for the British royals. Prince Andrew, who is the brother of King Charles, was friends with Epstein. There was a famous photo of them walking in a park together a long time ago. Because of this friendship, Prince Andrew got into a huge amount of trouble. People were very angry at him. In the year 2019, Prince Andrew did a TV interview that was a total disaster. He tried to explain why he was friends with the bad man, but his stories did not make sense to people. Because of this, the Queen had to take away his special titles and his military honors. He was not allowed to be called His Royal Highness anymore. Then, a woman sued him in court, saying he did bad things to her when she was very young. Prince Andrew had to pay a lot of money to settle that court case. Then, in early 2026, something even more shocking happened. Prince Andrew was arrested by the police on his 66th birthday. It was the first time in 400 years that a senior member of the royal family was arrested. It was a giant scandal that made the whole family look bad. Now you can see why it was so bad for people to whisper Meghan Markle's name in the same breath as that scandal. Even if it wasn't true, just hearing the names together was enough to make people worry. In late 2025, the government released a lot of secret papers about Epstein. Meghan's name was only in those papers one time, and it was just a regular email about a news story. She didn't do anything wrong, and she wasn't part of the bad things. There was even a photo online that people said showed Meghan on a boat with the bad people, but that was a lie. People who check facts proved that the woman in the photo was someone else entirely. But even when things are not true, rumors can still hurt people's feelings and their jobs. By early 2025, many people in Hollywood were already starting to doubt if Harry and Meghan were going to be successful. When Harry and Meghan first moved to Hollywood in 2020, they had a lot of power. Everyone was excited to work with them. A big company called Netflix gave them a deal that was worth $100 million. Netflix thought that because everyone was interested in the prince and his wife, they could make great shows that everyone would want to watch. At first, it seemed to work. They made a documentary about their lives that came out in 2022. It was a huge hit, and millions of people watched it in the first few days. Then Harry wrote a book called Spare in 2023. It became the fastest-selling book of its kind in history. It seemed like they were the biggest stars in the world. But after those big successes, things started to go wrong. They made a show about a sport called polo in 2024, but almost nobody watched it. Netflix wouldn't even tell people how many viewers it had because the number was so small. Meghan started a lifestyle brand and had a show about it, but it didn't do very well either. In late 2025, she made a holiday special for TV, but the people who write reviews for newspapers said it was very bad. One person even said the show made their stomach feel sick. In the 6 years since they left England, they had not made any movies or fun TV shows that they promised to make. They only made shows about themselves. In March of 2026, a very important magazine called Variety wrote a story about them. They talked to people who work at Netflix. These people said that the bosses at Netflix were tired of working with Harry and Meghan. They said the big boss, Ted Sarandos, was very frustrated. They also said that Meghan had made a lot of products for her brand, but nobody wanted to buy them. Netflix had $10 million worth of stuff just sitting in a warehouse. They were giving it away to their employees for free because they couldn't sell it. Their big partnership was being changed to a much smaller one. This was a big downgrade, which means it was not as good as before. Netflix was not the only company that was unhappy. A man named Bill Simmons, who worked for the music and podcast company called Spotify, said some very mean things about them. After their deal with Spotify ended in 2023, he called them grifters on his radio show. A grifter is a word for someone who tries to get money without doing hard work. He said he had a funny story about a phone call with Harry that he would tell later. Another big boss at a talent agency said that Meghan was not actually very talented at making podcasts. He said that just because someone is famous, it doesn't mean they are good at a job. Another magazine wrote a story in late 2024 that said Meghan was not a very nice boss. They talked to people who used to work for her. They said she made people feel scared at work and that she would not listen to any advice. The story said that in 5 years, more than 20 people had quit their jobs working for her. Even 11 different people who help with the news had quit. This made it look like it was very hard to work for the Sussexes. This was the bad situation they were in when the rumors about Kevin Costner started. The timing was very bad for them because they already had so many other problems. While all of this was happening in Hollywood, the royal family in England was having its own hard time. King Charles was told by doctors that he had cancer in early 2024. He had to stop doing his work for a while to get medicine and rest. By 2025, he was trying to go back to work, but he had to be very careful with his health. Then, Princess Catherine, who is married to Prince William, also told the world she had cancer. She had to have a big surgery and a lot of medicine, too. She started to feel better in 2025, but she was still not working as much as she used to. Because the king and the princess were both sick, there were not many people left to do the royal work. Because the royal family was in a fragile state, any bad news about Harry and Meghan felt even more dangerous. The scandal with Prince Andrew and the Epstein rumors made everything feel very messy. When Prince Andrew was arrested in 2026, the people who work at the palace had to look at very old laws. They looked at a law from over 100 years ago called the Titles Deprivation Act. This law was made during a big war to take away titles from people who helped the enemy. The law had not been used in a very long time, but now people were talking about it again. They were wondering if it could be used to take away titles from people who cause big scandals for the family. In the middle of all this drama, something interesting was happening with Prince Harry. He started to do things on his own without Meghan. People started to notice this in late 2024. Harry went to the party at Kevin Costner's house alone. Then, in early 2025, he went to Canada to help with the Invictus Games. This is a big sports competition he started to help soldiers who were hurt in wars. It was a huge event with hundreds of athletes from many different countries. Thousands of people came to watch, and famous singers like Chris Martin performed. Harry gave a very nice speech, and everyone said he did a great job. It seemed like people liked him better when he was working on his own projects. In the summer of 2025, Harry went to a country in Africa called Angola all by himself. He went to a place that used to have dangerous bombs hidden in the ground, called landmines. His mother, Princess Diana, had visited the same place a long time ago in 1997. There is a very famous photo of her walking through a field of bombs to show the world how dangerous they were. Because of her, many countries decided to stop using those bombs. When Harry went back in 2025, the bombs were all gone. Now, there is a town with houses and children playing where the danger used to be. Harry helped destroy some old bombs and talked about how important it is for children to be safe. People all over the world said very nice things about him for doing this. A man who knows a lot about the royal family said that Harry seems much better and more comfortable when he is doing this kind of helper work. People started to think that Harry and Meghan were going on two different paths. Harry was focusing on helping soldiers and doing charity work, while Meghan was focusing on her business and trying to sell things. Harry even did an interview where he said he wanted to be friends with his family again. He said he didn't want to fight anymore because he was worried about his father, the king, being sick. But he also said it was hard to go back to England because he was worried about safety for his wife and kids. Harry's brother, Prince William, was still very angry at him. Reports said they had not talked to each other in person for a long time. Even when Harry went to have tea with his father in 2025, it was a very short meeting. People at the palace said that a simple tea party does not mean all the problems are fixed. Harry was stuck in the middle of everything. He was between his old life in the palace and his new life in California. He was between his natural talent for helping people and the hard business of Hollywood. He was between a father who wouldn't pick up the phone and a wife whose business deals were falling apart. When September of 2025 came around, Harry and Meghan went to Kevin Costner's party together. It was the first time they had been seen at a big event together in a very long time. They wanted to show everyone that they were still a team. Harry gave another award to the firefighters, and they announced a big donation to help people with their mental health. There were many famous people there, and the photos in the magazines looked very happy. But even though the photos looked good, the problems behind the scenes were still there. Nothing had really been fixed yet. The big deal with Netflix was still in trouble. The stories about the company being done with them were still in the news. Meghan's lifestyle brand was still struggling to find people to help her. Her new podcast was not getting very good reviews. The arrest of Prince Andrew was still making people talk about the Epstein scandal and the royal family. Even though the rumors about Kevin Costner were not proven to be true, they had already done damage. The rumors worked because people were already starting to lose trust in Harry and Meghan. In Hollywood, people were being very critical of them. The bad words were not just coming from the mean newspapers in England anymore. The criticism was coming from the very people they worked with in Hollywood. It came from the bosses at Spotify and the big talent agents. It came from the people inside Netflix. And many people believed it might have come from Kevin Costner too, even if he never said it out loud. Now, people in England are talking about taking away their titles. New laws are being discussed in the government. The royal family is sending quiet warnings that they are not happy. Harry's good work in Africa and with the soldiers was real, but the big Hollywood empire they tried to build was falling apart. Kevin Costner built his own success by taking big risks and believing in himself. He didn't ask for permission and he didn't apologize for his choices. Whether he actually said something bad about Meghan or not, the fact that people believed the rumor shows that things have changed. Doors that used to be wide open for the prince and his wife are now starting to close. The friendships that seemed strong are now being called old friendships. Harry walked away from his life as a prince to find a new world, but now he is finding out that this new world might be just as hard to live in. People are left wondering if their story is falling apart on its own, or if there is a deeper problem that they are trying to hide with smiles and fancy parties. It is a very big drama that is still not finished.